What is up, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Shooting the Shit Uncensored. I am your host, Piers Austin, and today I am so excited because I am getting a chance to sit down with Big Vito LaGrasso. I was a huge fan of this guy in WCW. This is a guy that has helped Wrestling with Tragedy, my other podcast I do with former ECW original, Angel Medina, the Kingpin, and my good friend Kevin Rodriguez. This man has helped make it possible to get us on the Vince Russo network, and I'm really excited to be sitting down and talking with him. But before we get started, guys, I just want to take a quick pause for the cause, a quick second, if you will, to allow me to thank some amazing sponsors. My first sponsor I want to mention is Mayan Belts. If you want a championship belt, a custom championship belt, a replica of your favorite championship belt, then you need to hit up Mayan Belts. They are the best in the business. If you want to get your hands on a new title belt or you want to start getting into belt collecting, hit up Eddie and Ira Williams, as they're known on Facebook, in all the Facebook groups, and they will take care of you. They have special payment plans, the whole works, and they will make sure that you get the belt that you want. Next is A-Rock Designs. So A-Rock Designs is a company which is run by my really good friend, Ashley Rodriguez. She makes all those fancy wrestling cups, tumblers, hoodies, key-shirts, keychains, all that sort of good stuff that you see going around. If you want to get your hands on one of those custom cups, make sure you hit up Ashley Rodriguez, and she will also take care of you. Now, last but not least of my sponsors is Signal Studios. Signal Studios is a recording studio based here in Sydney, Australia, and it's run by my best mate in the whole fucking world, Rafi Tomasian. If you're a wrestler, you want to get some entrance music, you just want to get some music for you to write your own songs to that you can jam out to, or if you're a Sydney band and you look for a little bit of a rehearsal space, hit up Rafi Tomasian at Signal Studios. He'll take care of you. Now, guys, also, if you want to support this show and support MWA just that little bit more, head over to our Pro Wrestling Tee store where you can get some amazing shirts that we've got going at the moment. There's the Shooting the Shit Uncensored shirt, which is my shirt for this show. We've also got our 2020 wrestling shirt for our wrestling game show, which is Wednesday nights at 10:30 p.m., which is 8:30 a.m. if you're in the United States in the Eastern time zone. We also have our MWA black and silver logo shirt, which is absolutely beautiful. Make sure you head over and check that out. But also, if you want a bit of a laugh shirt, you can get our MWA anime shirt, which is so very special and so amazing. It wasn't one of my favorites to start off with, but you know what? It's been selling great, and we've been really proud of that shirt. So, guys, without further ado, I'm going to bring him on, the man, the myth, the legend, Big Vito. What's going on, homie?
Hey, what's going on? It's the BIGV from the LOG, Big Vito LaGrasso. How are you doing? What's going on? Thank you very much for having me on the show. And you know what? You know that picture you have in the front there, like for your podcast. That looks like my evil uncle. I tell you, look at me now. I look so pimp, so happy, so tan, so young, and that guy looks like my old uncle from 60th Street and 20th Avenue in Brooklyn when the mafia was hot. I tell you, I don't understand it.
I tell you what, man, you've actually looked like instead of when people age, they get older, you look like you're actually getting younger, man. You got that Mr. Benjamin Button thing going on, Vito. You have to tell me a secret, dude.
I have to tell you, a lot of people give me a lot of compliments. They say, you look the same or you keep looking younger. I take care of myself. I do my man grooming. I do everything possible to look good, and having a young wife, you know what I mean? I gotta keep up with the Benjamin. There, see that is flashing.
Hello, Mrs. LaGrasso.
Hello, Mrs. LaGrasso. We said, all right.
So, guys, we have got a few people here starting to come in, and they're throwing up some comments. Guys, thank you very much for tuning in. Kevin Rodriguez, yes, I'm representing your shirt, the Wrestle Hub shirt. Where have you guys seen this logo? I don't know, but you guys are a bunch of fucking degenerates. But guys, we're going to get into it. And Vito, as I said in the intro, man, I am a big fan of yours.
Thank you very much.
When you came into WCW, in Australia, we didn't really get much ECW back then. So my first sighting of you and first seeing you was in WCW, and when you came in, with the Mama Lukes, you and Johnny the Bull and Tony Mama Luke, The Sopranos was running hot back then. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, and the gimmick fit perfectly for the time of, you know what I mean? The mafioso type style, man. And dude, you had me hooked. And one thing I want to say is, with that tag team, you know, you guys will always seem so like just on point in that match. You know what I mean? Like when in your matches, just so on point. But for me, and I'm not trying to kiss your ass here, but for me, you always seem like the ring general in that in those matches.
Yes.
You seem like the guy that was really taking control. You know, I know that you were trained at Gleason's along with our mutual friend Angel, Tommy
Right.
Dreamer, Taz,
Bill DeMott, Mondo
Bill
Quinn.
yeah,
We had a great class. Devon, I mean, we had a great class that came out of that school. And, everybody took their different path, and if anybody doesn't know the story of Angel, and Angel and me have been boys for, we're talking 30 years now. We've been friends, right? But when I first met Angel, he hated my guts. He quit wrestling and he never wanted to come back again. And then when he was watching me on WWF TV, you see me wrestling the Boss Man, he goes, "Look at that motherfucker. He can be beat. I'm going back to wrestling," right? So I didn't know he quit. And then he came back and we just bonded. And then when we went on our first road trip together, right? And like we were out of our wrestling training mode, we were on the road and I remember doing a show with you in Lancaster. You have me sound advice and tour guy. That's good. Okay. Well, I appreciate it. Thank you. Everybody remembers the good stuff. Give me some shine. Much respect, love. Wanted to share a personal memory. Thank you very much. I greatly appreciate it. And like when Angel, we were on the road and then like said, "Hey guys, you want to go grab something to eat?" And then he says, "What?" And then there was like another guy, a guy named Armand who was on Kid USA, Angel, and maybe another guy who was with the Rob Finateri, who was another wrestler. And we were on the way home, and I said, "Guys, you want to come to my house to eat?" I said, "What are you talking about?" I said, "Yeah, I got plenty of food at my house. I was married at the time. I said, my wife was cooking. Guys, come to my house. Let's eat." And then I broke the barrier from training to being on the road, and those guys didn't understand at the time. But to say that those guys appreciate those times of me training because you have to do it this way. This is the way you have to do it. We train, we do this, and this is the way wrestling is done, right? And I was given a privilege to work for the WWF in my rookie year and learn the ropes, not only from Johnny Rods at Gleason's, but from the Bret Harts, the Bulldogs, the Boss Mans, the Legion of Doom, Bill Eadie, Honky Tonk Man, Jimmy Snooker, Nikolai Volkov, the Iron Sheik. You talk about all the greats. I wrestled with all these guys on a regular basis, and I was different than a lot of the independent guys because I never wrestled independent wrestlers. I wrestled the stars or the guys coming out of WWF. So I was different than everybody else. So it was like, I didn't really wrestle with the independents. I wrestled with the guys because I was doing TV matches and I was doing that. And you know what? It's a great thing because Angel and I became good friends. We became tag team partners. We were in the Baldies in ECW. And then when Angel had his moment down in hardcore, down in Canada with the hardcore thing, I think it was Hardcore Heaven. I'm not sure. I'm not sure the name of it down in Canada. But when he won the title, I ran out there. I was the only one. The fans shit on it, right? Him winning the title. Yeah, they did. This is a true story. The fans shit on it. He was standing there like a deer in headlights. I went out there and I hugged him, because I felt good for him and I was the only one who endorsed it. Once I went out there, the people grabbed onto it. Then we did the next show. We had an angle where I came out as Raven and everybody thought it was Raven. And I was like, I did it perfectly because I watched enough Raven stuff and that was great to do it. I said, man, this is awesome. You know what I mean? So I was doing the thing in the corner. I had the helmet on, the jacket, everything. When I took off the mask, people were shocked to talk about heel turns. How could you do this to your best friend, you son of a bitch? But hey, it was wrestling, and we never got to finish. That was the sad part, to really give Angel that that one oomph, like to
Yeah.
put him over as like the kingpin. You know what I mean? But he did a great job. He had a great career, and he's my
Amazing.
buddy.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry I took up the time with with my story, but I figured
No,
people
no, no,
want to
no.
listen.
That's what we're here for, man. We're here to
All
talk
right.
about you and your stories, man. And absolutely, Angel's a great dude. I've I reached out to him and interviewed him a few months ago, and me and him just became very close friends, man. And now obviously wrestling with tragedy has taken off, and it's just another layer. But getting back into your career, one of the things I wanted to ask you, man, was your Tommy Jeanette wrestling in carnivals and stuff
Yes.
like that back in the day, man. How was it like working for Tommy Jeanette back then and working that sort of atmosphere in the Indies?
Let me tell you something, guys. Working for Tommy Jeanette, he was the first promoter I worked for. Johnny brought me in. I used to work with Johnny, right?
Yeah.
And I worked. Now this is the lineup that we had. We had Ted Petty, who was the Cheetah Kid, who worked as Rocco Rock. We had Cousin Luke. We had Nikolai Volkov, Jimmy Snuka, the Honky Tonk Man, Bill Eadie. I worked exclusively with those guys, right?
Yeah.
So Tommy Jeanette, I said to Tommy, he was always looking for guys. I said, hey, Tommy, I says, how about if we make a deal? He goes, what kind of deal you want to make, Vito? I said, how about if I work 4 matches, you pay me this much, you save some money, and I can make a good payday, and I don't mind working 4 times in the night. So I would work as Skull Von Crush coming out in a German. I would work under a mask. And then the nighttime show, I would work as Skull Von Crush, and I will come out in the mask, and I would work 4 times in a night, 20 minutes each match. That's how dedicated I was to get better, and that's how much I loved wrestling. And I made good money. I'm not going to say like I made $500, but for an independent guy, and to make, come home with 250 or better, I was happy. Tommy was happy. They saved money. And, Tommy liked me. Johnny loved me. So it was like, and I got to work with all the guys that I looked up to, and they always just tell me, Vito, I don't know what it is. He says, but when you work with Jimmy Snuka, he says, he's the only guy he does anything with, and he's the only guy he bumps for. I don't know what it is with you, but that got around to the Indies.
Yeah.
So I was Jimmy Snuka's guy when I worked, and every time I worked Jimmy, I mean, he did everything I wanted to do. Like, and the big thing was taking the suplex over the top rope from the outside on the apron to the inside. And he loved taking that suplex for some reason from me. And I would take him. He would come over. And when I had a feed for him, and when he gave me the splash, let me tell you something. I can only imagine Don Morocco taking that splash off the top of the cage. That's some girth, right? And Jimmy, when he used to give me that splash off the top rope, and I used to go, he used to hit me flush, which was fine. But you talk about hitting full contact and full flush, because that's the way they were taught back then. I cannot imagine taking it off the top of a cage in Madison Square Garden or anywhere. When you talk about full force, him slamming on you, that's a hit. And then when Jimmy, as we went on, he would go to the second rope. So then the promoter goes, Jimmy, we're paying you to go to the top rope, and I don't want you to take it easy on Vito. And you got to go. And brother, I'm going to the top. I said, Jimmy, I said, that's fine. I said, no problem. And that used to be my thing. I love working with Bill Eadie and Jimmy Snuka and Honky Tonk Man and Cousin Luke and Ted Petty and some of the other great guys I work with, because those guys took the time to teach me. How many guys get to tag with the Iron Sheik as your tag team partner? Not many. I got pictures to prove it. I got places I was. It was me and the Iron Sheik against the Rock and Roll Express in Michigan, working for the original Sheik. That's pretty cool, man. When you talk about wrestling, that's awesome stuff, man. You can't buy that knowledge.
Dude, and you know what? You mentioned, Ted Petty, Rocco Rock, and, the Public Enemy to me were just, they're such a phenomenal tag team. And you know what? Yeah, they had their moments and they had their, the backstage stories and the heat and stuff like that they got. But when it came to being in the ring, man, those guys were always on point. You know what I mean? Like they were always solid workers. You know, especially Petty. You know, he was just like, man, just another level. You know, Rocco Rock to me was, you know, those early ECW days when they were wrestling guys that get like the Funks, Cactus Jack, and Mikey Whipwreck. Man, they really made those matches stand out, especially when they're going up against some pretty heavy personalities as well. You know.
No, you know what? And like, you know, what really got me when I worked for Tommy Jeanette was he always put me with Johnny. And then once I ran the course with Johnny, I went to Cousin Luke. And then from Cousin Luke, I went to Ted Petty. And like I think it was Ted Petty first and then Cousin Luke. But he was like one of the first name guys I had wrestled. So I was like, okay, that's fine, you know, that's cool. And we did a bunch of stuff. And it wasn't until, you know, like, you know, I always wrestled him. And, you know, when I saw him in WWF and I saw him in the different independent shows, like for Dennis Galam in New Jersey, who we worked for. I don't know if you remember him, but he used to run a fed down there. And then when we wrestled on an independent show, you talk about one night we wrestled for this gentleman. I don't remember where it was. So we said, he goes, Vito, what do you want to do tonight? I said, Teddy, I says, you know, let's do an ECW match. Let's do something really cool. So he goes, you want to do a table spot? I says, okay. I says, you want me to take it? He says, no, I don't want you to take it. He says, I'm taking it. I says, okay. So
wow,
we didn't even talk about it. As soon as I seen the table setting up, I says, okay, here you go, Teddy. And he took the table. Everybody popped, and you know, like, but you talk about guys back then taking care of guys and protecting the business and protecting each other. And when you have veterans, like the guys I mentioned, take care of Skull or Vito, or just taking care of me and looking out for me and teaching me, I always give them the thanks and I can't give them enough thanks and the privilege to work with them back then, because if it wasn't for those guys teaching me, I would never have made it to where I made it in the wrestling business.
Yeah, and I think it's important, and you know, you see a lot of, or you hear a lot of stories about certain way that certain guys were in WCW and a lot of older wrestlers. Oh, I'm afraid that if I train this or give this guy anything, I'm going to lose my spot. But you know, you hear the other aspect, and being able to speak to professional wrestlers regularly, I've been able to hear about a lot of guys that, you know, the older generation that really give back to the business. And I think that that's where what you were saying, that these guys taking you aside when you're a young guy saying, hey, Vito, this is the way that we do it. This is the way to do it. And the way that you were doing that when you were training guys as well. I mean, you know, learning to be a professional wrestler is not an easy task. It's not like getting in there and like, okay, fall on pillows. You know, it's got to be a lot of, you know, full on, like, this is what it is. It's not an easy business. This is going to be hard on your body. You have to do it correctly, because one wrong move, you know, you could really end up, you know, hurting someone or injuring someone permanently for life.
You know something? You know, if you ever ask Angel about the Pepsi Challenge, I made up a thing in Gleason's gym called the Pepsi Challenge.
That was one of the things I wanted to ask you about. He tells me about the Pepsi Challenge all the time, and that was one of my things I wanted to ask you. What is the Pepsi Challenge?
Pepsi Challenge. If you thought you had the balls to take me on, I said, you think you're ready for the Pepsi Challenge? And I was the heavyweight champ of Gleason. There wasn't nobody beating me, right? So they all came and they all went home sucking their thumb and crying for their mamas. I'm telling you, I made grown men cry. I made grown men shit their pants. But when it came to people challenging me and in Gleason's gym and talking shit after I was doing stuff, I would always come back to defend the title. And when I used to call it out, I said, all right, you ready for the Pepsi Challenge? They all would get like this. Yeah, you could tell they're on the gas. They've been training. They've been doing this. There was a guy, and he's not here with us no more, but I tell this story because it's a great story to tell. And Angel knows him as a friend of Angel's also. His name was Tim Arson. I don't know if anybody remembers Tim Arson.
No, I haven't heard.
He was the zombie of ECW on the first night.
Yep. No, okay.
So Tim Arson used to beat up all the guys afterwards and thought that was the way to go in Gleason's. So Angel would tell me, and my friend Rob and a bunch of guys, yo, Vito, this guy Tim Marson. He says he's the new friggin', he's the new Vito. He's the friggin' leader of the crew. He's the king over here. He says it's his school. Yeah, this is a true story. True story. I says, really? Okay. So I called up Johnny. I said, yeah, Vito, I got this guy, Tim Marson. He says he will whoop your ass. And I said, really? Okay. I packed my bag. I made my way to Gleason's. I said, so you're the new Vito, huh? You're the new Pepsi talent. All right, let's go. Right?
Yeah.
When I tell you, and this is no lie, I swear on everything, this lasted 2 minutes or less.
Whoa.
I was on him like white on rice, like you never seen anybody be on anybody before. Johnny Rods got in the ring. What are you doing? I can't believe you quit. He bailed.
Wow.
Right?
And he was the new badass, apparently.
He was the new badass. And once people got to know what the new badass was like when Vito came to town, I cut a promo in that ring in Gleason's gym where they see me humiliate, beat up, train, everything. And I said, don't ever friggin' doubt me. I'm still the king of Gleason's. I will whip anybody's ass in here, including the boxing side. And don't ever say you're better than me again. Right?
Whoa.
Yeah, I let it out. So then,
that's gold.
So then he calls me and we became friends, which is cool, right? So we became friends, awesome. And I didn't mind. So he says, "What do you think about me going to WWE for a tryout?" I said, "Tim, I think you really needed to learn how to work a little better and get a little more exposure." Did he listen? No. Where does he show up when I'm wrestling for WWE 2005? He shows up. He shows up at the WWE. That's when they were doing the ECW stuff, right?
Yeah.
So with all the guys who came from Johnny's school, whoever came, I always took care of them no matter where I was. I said, "Come sit over here. This is what you do. You go in the ring, you work out, you stay with your gear on." They said, "I'm going to introduce you to some people." I said, "Don't embarrass me, because if you embarrass me, you embarrass and ruin it for everybody else." I said, "Then I will kick the shit out of you." True story.
Wow.
True story.
Wow.
So,
and how did he go? Like, how did he behave backstage?
Yeah. So he came in, and I introduced him to Paul Heyman. I said, "Hey, Paul, I'd like to introduce you to somebody." He said, "This is Tim Marson. He's from Johnny's school." I said, "He's a good guy. He's looking for an opportunity. If you could use him tonight, I'd greatly appreciate it as a favor if you could put him on." He said, "He's one of Johnny's guys." I said, "Vito, you got it. No problem." So that was okay. So I told him after we were done working out, I said, "You did good. Okay. Now stay here dressed. Don't move, and wait until the matches start before you change." So Paul was looking for somebody. Who does he see? Tim Marson.
Yeah. Ready to go.
"Tim, I got something for you. Would you like to come here, please?" So he says, "I want to make you the zombie tonight. You're going to go into Sandman, take some cane shots." I said, "Put him over, and then that's it." So that was his moment in WWE for ECW. He got the shot, right? He went on the indies and did the zombie gimmick. And that's how he became the zombie, because he listened, he followed directions. He had a bit of an attitude problem, but like when I used to talk to him all the time, and he had a difficult time with some things, and I always used to call him and check on him, and he used to call me, and sad to say he's not here with us no more. But if you're ever looking for a story for some guys who really wanted to be something in wrestling, there's a story of somebody who really wanted to be something, and all he had to do was just follow the direction, but never challenge the Pepsi challenge, especially because you're asking for a whole can of whip ass and like humiliation, and then if I cut a promo on top, really bad. Because so all the guys in Gleason's, I love you guys, and I have to say this: thank you for training with me. Even though when there were 20 guys there and I was working out, you guys used to wait till I was done training before all of you got in the ring, because nobody wanted to wrestle with me. And this is a true story. You can ask Angel. But I would come out of the ring after wrestling for 2 hours. There would be 330 on the rack. I press it for friggin' 12, throw it back on the rack, jump in there for another hour.
Jesus.
Yeah.
That's insane. So we got a question from Kevin Rodriguez, one of the
Go
hosts
ahead.
from one of one of the hosts from Wrestling with Tragedy and the host of the War Room. He wants to know, Big Vito, I have to ask, as a proud Italian, does pineapple go on pizza?
Pineapple does not go on pizza. Okay, we don't put it there. But if you're with your girl and she kind of likes it, suck it up for the night. You never know what can happen.
That's it, man. That's it. So Angel's throwing up a couple of questions, and he did tell me about this story. He's saying you did not protect the saddle. So that was the question. I actually heard that you kicked the guy out of a hotel room
Oh
about
man.
a saddle, man. You
All
gotta
right.
tell me about that.
So just in case the guy's watching, right? His name is Mark DeBalos, okay? And he was trying. He was one of Johnny's guys. He was in the same class. And thank you for being a fan. Thank you very much. Um, he was in a class and he was doing an Indian gimmick, and then he decided to want to be a cowboy, right? So with the Indian gimmick, he had this garlic and he had this and he had that and I used to take his sacred garlic. I used to throw it. Angel would friggin' die laugh. I mean, this guy used to get so mad, but he could never beat me. And no matter how hard he tried, he never could whoop me. And like he never could hang with me. But the best part is when he came down to a show, and Armand was on the show, and Angel, Rob was there. So the guy's sharing a room with me, and he brings this guy in the room, and he's got this fucking saddle on his thing. So I said, what are you doing? He's got this cigarette dangling from his mouth. Yeah, brother, I'm here to share a room with you. Is it me, the guy, and the saddle? I said, you, the guy in the saddle. How about you, the guy in the saddle? Get the fuck out of my room. I ain't sharing no fucking room in it. So then he gets in the ring, and he's supposed to be this rough, tough cowboy, right? And he's got fucking ponies on his fucking boots. And I said, are you serious? I said, you got ponies on your boots. Does Terry Funk have friggin' ponies on his boots? What kind of cowboy are you? Right? So I used to give him the hardest of times. But it was warranted because it was just the way it was. But I have to say, I am still friends with this guy. He still trains at Johnny Roz's. He helps out the guys. He's been doing it. He's a student. He's a good guy, but you got to love him because he's not a mean bone in his body, and he does. And you got to say he's one of Johnny Roz's top guys right now. So, hearts out to Mark and his wife. They always do good stuff for Johnny Rod's school at Gleason's Gym. If you look him up, he's cool. But back then, I had to give. He was part of the Pepsi challenge.
He got caught in the Pepsi challenge. I absolutely love that story, man. That was amazing. But talking about ECW, how did you find yourself getting in with ECW? Was that because obviously, Gleason's Gym is notorious for having a lot of the original ECW guys train there? And was it like how you were saying with the ECW Zombie, you went along to shows, got introduced and shook hands and that sort of thing? Or how did that transition go from you going into ECW?
The truth is, and Angel could vouch for this because he was there as my boy. We were best friends at the time. And I was going through a rough time in life. I had just come back from Puerto Rico. I missed the Mamalukes too, Angel Davis. You're definitely right. I do miss the Mamalukes. So I had just come back from All Japan Wrestling. I pinned Mizawa. I had the best tour of my life in Japan, right? So I come back to the States. I did my tours with Carlos. I was finished. I did 3 years of wrestling for Carlos Colon. And here I am. I said, I still don't have a full-time job in wrestling. I said, what am I going to do? So my thing was, you never go to a show unless you're invited. I said, I got to change my ways because an Angel could vouch this. I was too good for my own good. I could back up everything I said. I could out-wrestle anybody on the independent circuit. I was that good. But I needed to eat some humble pie, and I needed to change my ways. So I went to ECW down at the Elks Lodge in Queens, and I saw Taz. He was one of Gleason's boys,
Yeah.
and everybody was shocked that I walked in with my bag. They were like, "Whoa, what's going on? Vito's here! Oh my God!" So I went to Taz, and I said, "Listen, I'd like an opportunity at ECW, and I appreciate it." He says, "Well, did you have any? I know you're doing this German gimmick. You got any squats?" I said, "No, I don't got nothing." I said, "I just want to wrestle." And they knew I love wrestling, and they knew I put my time in. I've been doing 8 years, and they said, "All right, Vito." They introduced me to Paul. Paul knew me because way back in the day, before I did my WWF taping, I did a WCW taping where I wrestled beautiful Bobby Eaton. And who was the ring announcer? Paulie Dangerously, right? So I had
Yeah.
met Paul back in the 90s, like in 1990. So here I am coming to him, and he says, "Okay, Vito." And he knew my reputation. I was tough. I was arrogant. I had
Yeah.
swag. Had it everything. "All right, Vito, come next week to Philadelphia, and we'll give you a shot." So I go down there. My first day, I walk in. "Okay, Vito, you're in this tag team match. We don't want you to do a damn thing, and we want you to take the finish." I said, "Okay." So I had no offense. I told the guys it was Chris Chetty, um, Chris Chetty, Nova, and Blue Meanie. I said, "Guys, I want you, all three of you, to give me your finish." "Vito, are you serious?" I said, "Everybody hit me with the finish. I got to do this." And talk about eating humble pie.
Yeah.
I just finished pinning Mizawa, and here I am on the bottom of this heap, right? So they say, "Okay, all right, Vito, you did good tonight. All right, come back next week." So I go back the next week. I think they were at the Elks Lodge. So they were looking for an opponent for Rob Van Dam, right at the Elks Lodge.
Yeah.
So they said, so Paul goes to Taz and Dreamer and I think Bubba, and he says, "You think Vito can keep up with Rob?" They said, "You think Rob can keep up with Vito?" And then Paul goes, "What?" He goes, "I don't know." I says, "You could put Vito in there." I said, "He's going to be all right." So I went in there with Rob Van Dam, and you could watch the match. I think it's on YouTube or it's the first one we did. And I tried to out wrestle him, and I was fighting for my life. I was fighting for a job. I want to show everybody I could wrestle a Skull Von Crush, and we had a hell of a match. We did the finish, and then the rest was history. And then Angel started to come around, and Angel was on the ring crew, and he started putting me with Angel, and I was helping Angel get a job in ECW because I used to say, "Angel, you got to do this, you got to do that." He trusted me, I was his friend. I wasn't going to let him fall, and sure enough, he got a job at ECW, you know.
Yeah, right. And because you were in ECW for a little while before you got called up to WCW, when you got offered the contract for WCW, and obviously your time in ECW, coming to an end and going there, did you feel like obviously going and speaking to them and letting them know, because ECW always made WCW sound like it was like hell, and you're going to be making a deal with the devil by making a deal with WCW. Did you find you got any heat from ECW, or was there anyone there that really tried to talk you out of going to WCW, or did they see it as an opportunity for you and were happy for you?
I went to Paulie Dangerously when I got the offer, and I told him, I said, "Paul, I got an offer for WCW, but I don't want to leave, and I want to stay here because I felt comfortable at ECW." He says, "Vito," he says, "I cannot pay you the money that they're offering you." He says, "You've been working your whole career to get to the top. Go to WCW." So that's where I went. And there was no animosity. There was no hard feelings. There's no nothing. It was a business decision. And Paul directed me correctly because I went on to great things in WCW. And you know what? He didn't play me. He didn't do anything. It was nothing like, stay or you got to do this or, it had nothing to do with it. He was honest with me to where, I mean, how many guys get that opportunity where, I think Taz had left The Dudleys had left. I was the next one to leave.
Yeah.
So now it's pretty big for them. You know what I mean? So like they saw, and then when I left, they were like, Vito got a job at WCW. No shit. And then a couple months later, here I am, tag team champion in WCW.
Yeah. And, we talk about, your WCW debut. And as I said, back in that time, The Sopranos were probably the number one show on
Yeah.
television at the time. And the gimmick really fitted with the time of, the Italian mafia type style, the way that you guys came in, with Tony Mamaluke, Johnny the Bull. And Johnny the Bull, he wasn't trained at Gleason's, was he? He was trained at the power plant from memory.
He was trained at the power plant. He'd never been on TV. They told me he's green. He says, I says, I can take care of him. So I told Johnny, I said, listen, I said, we're going to do a few things. We're going to do tags. I says, we're not going to expose you. And, just listen. And he says, okay, Vito, I trust you. And I never let him fail and I never let him fall. I took care of him. And when we were a good tag team. We worked as a good unit.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely, like I said before, like the matches you guys had there were phenomenal in tag teaming. And looking back, you could not, like, I as a fan couldn't sit there and go, man, that guy was, you know what I mean? Like, I couldn't see the mistakes. And I've gone back and I've watched, a lot of the matches that you guys had in those early stages, and everything seemed to flow really well. And I think that having someone like yourself who was, pretty much a veteran at the time, who'd been around, who'd worked big promotions, who'd been in front of large crowds before, could really be able to guide that through. And, he didn't look weak at all. And that's not an attack or anything bad on him. But obviously when you're new and you're put in such a big opportunity like that, you're going to get nervous. The nerves are going to kick in and the mistakes are going to happen. It's inevitable. But to me, watching, I couldn't pick up the mistakes. But obviously you as a worker, like, were there moments that you picked up were like, fuck, like.
No, you know what? He listened to what I said. And I said, we're going to go with your strong point. The less you do, the better you are. Let's go with your strong point. Him jumping to the top rope was phenomenal. His power was off the charts. His look was phenomenal. He just didn't have the experience. But what's missing today when you put guys together is guys don't follow the veteran lead. And I think that's what's missing in today's wrestling, because you got a lot of guys, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. I got my own mind. I got my gimmick. I got this. How about listening to the guy who's been there, done that, and let's get it together. Let's get on a roll. If you want to add something, that's great. But let's get on a roll. Listen to the leadership. Listen to what's going on out there. If you do, there's great things that can happen. But if you want to buck the system, wrestling is universal. Wrestling is done from the left. It's 101. You listen to the veterans and you learn your craft. And a lot of guys today don't do that.
No, they definitely don't. And I think it's the time of age as well. And you've seen with everyone, like, some of the things being said in recent history with the speaking out movement. This person was mean. This person bullied me. This person, did this, and not taking into account the other side of the speaking out movement. But there are certain things where people saying, I was training and this person really bullied me. But, I've got an MMA background. And when I was training in MMA, I didn't have coaches going, no, mate, you've got to throw a punch like this. It was like, no, motherfucker, get up, throw it properly. You've been trained. You know how to do it. And it's the same mentality with wrestling training. You can't be babied to the point of watching someone's feelings 24/7. Like, it's a hard business.
You mentioned MMA background, right? When I was wrestling up in ACW in Denver, Pennsylvania, I was wrestling for a guy named Tate Hammer, right? So I was staying up there for a while, and he had a wrestling school. So with the wrestling school, he had guys come. They never trained with a pro before.
Yeah.
So we used to get about 8 guys. I think 8 guys, right? So I said, all right, guys, let's do some stretching. Are you guys ready? I go, yeah. All right, let's go. So I mapped out a mile run. So we went on a mile run, right? So like, this is, you want to train? be a pro, let's run a mile. So here we go, we run a mile or a mile and a half, whatever. We'll come back. Guys are sucking it, you know what I mean? And then, all right, let's do squats. We're doing Hindu squats. We did about, you know, I was a Hindu squat king. So 500 to me was nothing after running. So I did that. Then we did some, I took what I had and we did some exercises with some barn stuff because Denver, Pennsylvania, he didn't have no equipment. So I used what he had on the farm, right? So I came up with these exercises and we did these exercises. Then we had a chance to wrestle. So, all right, guys, we'll do a bump drills, we'll do this. And this was 2 hours. So there was this one guy, his name was Bobby. He was overweight. He had an MMA background. He sucked at pro wrestling. He would bitch, moan, and complain, right? So I said, you bitch, moan, and complain. I said, okay, you want to do MMA wrestling? You want to shoot? Let's go. He says, what do you mean? I says, you're knocking this wrestling training. You're an MMA guy. He says, I'll take you on. I said, and I don't want you to feel bad. I said, you go. I said, I want you to come at me. So we went and we did his MMA wrestling. He got a lot of respect for doing it. Couldn't keep up. But I out wrestled him and I did all his stuff. And, but you got to go with guys' strong points. They might not grasp the wrestling concept, but if they're MMA guys, you wrestle the MMA style to make them look like something. A lot of guys don't do that. A lot of guys who are pros, okay, let me see, what can you do? What's your strong points? Okay, good. So if you're an MMA guy, let's have an MMA type match. This way you don't look out of sync, and I'll just I'll do what I got to do to survive or get it over. Do you remember a guy named Dan Bobish?
Dan Bobish? No.
Dan Bobish was an MMA fighter. If you look him up after the show, Google him. He wrestled. He fought in MMA. He fought Mark Hunt. He fought a couple other guys. Okay, comes to World Japan. Vito-san, you wrestled Dan Bobish. I said, Mr. Hattori, I said, he has beaten up all the Japanese boys here. Why am I wrestling Dan Bobish? Vito-san, you have experience. You do good job. One time only.
Yeah.
I was like, shit. And he was.
I'm surprised he didn't go, Vito-san, Pepsi challenge time. Yes, sir.
No, let me tell you, Dan Bobish was all of 330 pounds of man. Okay?
Wow. Yeah.
So here I am. And I said, all right, Dan. I said, we're going to wrestle tonight. He says, what do you want to do, Vito? I said, we're going to wrestle MMA style. He goes, what do you mean? We're going to do MMA style. He said, because your wrestling is not getting you over. And you come to my corner, I says, and nobody is taking you up on wrestling your shoot style. Yeah. We wrestled shoot style. So have my hands up. I said, throw your punches. I'll catch them, Yeah. And we're doing it. I said, just don't pancake me. We'll throw kicks and we'll wrestle. I said, just don't pancake me because 330 pounds on a pancake. Oh, yeah. I would have been, I could take it, but it was unnecessary. You know what I mean?
I mean, there's only so many of them that anyone could really take before, they just get worn down from it,
So we're wrestling, and he shoots one up the middle. I miss it. Hits me on the chin directly. My head snaps back to the turnbuckle and beyond, right? I come back with a kick to the stomach just out of reaction, right? So we had a flurry, and then he gives me a few knee lifts. I go over the top rope. Well, great, right? So we finished the match. He does his finish. Everything is great. He said, Vito, I'm sorry. I said, don't worry. I said, how was my kick? He says, don't ever do it again. I said, all right, that's fine. Even. But but he hit me, I hit him. But it wasn't done intentionally, but it was just reaction. When I tell you my jaw went back, it almost hit the metal of the turnbuckle back post.
Jesus,
He hit me good.
that's insane.
But
Just
but hold on. There's a
sorry.
better part of the story.
Oh, please continue, sir.
Come the next day, Vito-san, you wrestled Dan Bobish. I said, you told me only one time, Mr. Hattori. No, you do a good job. Japanese very happy. You'll wrestle again. Mr. Hattori, you make me earn my yen here. I want to wrestle the Japanese guys. No, tonight you wrestle Dan Bobish. Thank you. Walks away. I wrestled him 5 times on that tour. So much for being a good worker.
At least you got in there, and they had faith in you to have those matches with him, though.
I could work with anybody and do anything. And that was the great thing about Skullbound Crush or Vito LaGrasso, Big Vito. I could work up and down the card with anybody. And those workers, when you say workers, are the most valuable people to have, because in a pinch, we have a world title match. Who could we put? Let's put Vito there for tonight because he can make a good opponent. Or we have tag team, or we have hardcore, or we have a singles match, or we have a battle royal. I could fit anywhere on the card. That was the great thing about learning my craft, learning how to work, because I was versatile.
Yeah, I mean, you could go into multiple different situations, and you could get them over. You could make them work.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously we talk about your WCW run, and obviously being tag team champs with Johnny the Bull. Tony Mamaluke was there for literally a cup of coffee, and then went going back to ECW. But the split with the Mamalukes, how far planned in was that? Like, was it always a plan to have you guys split up, or was it sort of like a week by week basis?
No, when we were done with the tag teams, they were looking for something, and that's when they put me in the singles. And then I was doing, and Johnny had gotten hurt, and then I was doing singles, and then we did the hardcore thing, and because I was in ECW, and I was comfortable doing it. When I left ECW, oh man, thank God, no more chairs, no more garbage cans. Oh man, I'm gonna be living life good. And what do? I become hardcore champion. But I thank the guys I work with in ECW and in Puerto Rico, because without learning that kind of style, I would never have been able to be as good as I was as a hardcore champion. And the ultimate compliment was working with Terry Funk and him doing the favor for me on Nitro in front of millions of people, him handing me the belt. And, that says a lot right there.
Yeah, like for me, we're going back and watching that stuff with you and the hardcore title and the run that you started to get as a singles. I really got a feeling that they were really starting to get behind you in a lot of ways. Was there ever talk of sort of moving you further up the up the card, sorry, or was it always like let's see how you go with this, and let's see how we'll play this out for a while? Was there any talk about sort of moving you in to more of a main event spot?
The thing that derailed me was the changing of the guard in the booking department. I was one of the top guys in WCW. There's no denying it. And when I was given the ball, I carried it. I was over. I wrestled. I did my thing, and I should have held a couple more titles, but because of the booking changing with Vince Russo, then Bischoff, then Terry Taylor, then Kevin Sullivan, then and it was just an ongoing carousel. If it was one guy, I always said, in the right situation, I could be heavyweight champion. Not to say I'd be the greatest thing, or I'm a heavyweight champion, but if you're talking about U.S. title, definitely. Tag team champion, hardcore champion, TV champion, I could be all those guys. And there wouldn't have been a problem. There wouldn't have been nobody who could say he didn't deserve it, or I couldn't represent it, or I wasn't tough enough, or I wasn't a quality wrestler. I could do it all. But because of all the changes in WCW, I never got to that point. I was always underneath the megastars. I was one step behind because of the inconsistency in the booking.
And that's the thing. You mentioned the booking. The booking position was pretty much like a hot potato there. Between that 99 to 2000, it was like, well, I've had it for a minute. Oh, you've got it for a minute. Oh, now, you know what I mean? Like there was never really any consistency. And, they had, at the time, WCW had a lot of great talent, but the booking just wasn't consistent. The talents in ring performances were so consistent, but, for that, like there was Vince Russo, then it was Eric, then it was, as you said, it just went through name after name after name until it just sort of cycled back again. So
it was sad, and if they would have just left it alone and let Russo run the thing, he was at 3.5 million viewers. That wasn't good enough. When he left, it went back down to 2 million. He came back, he got it back up to 3 million. If you just leave the guy alone, but with so much bucking the system and the guys. Not to say that the veterans were mad, but it was just the changing of the guard, and they wanted to get new talent in, and some guys were happy to do it, some guys weren't happy to do it. You know what I mean? And I was kind of in the middle because I wasn't a new guy, but I was a new guy, and I had play, and I held 2 world titles, so I wasn't the average guy there. And I was in line to move up the card, but just with everything that was going on, if they would have just left it alone, it would have been better.
Yeah, and you know what? You mentioned Vince Russo as well. I think Vince Russo really gets hard done by with a lot of things. How, like, especially by a lot of wrestling fans, holding him responsible for a lot of things. And to me, I think that in the situation at the time that it was in, you can't really blame Vince Russo for the mistakes of WCW. Like did he make some questionable decisions? Yeah, but there's a lot of people in different types of businesses that do that. But I think he gets a very hard judgment done to him, especially by wrestling fans. I mean, you take in the look of David Arquette winning the world title. Okay, fans were outraged about it, but it's been 20-something years and wrestling fans are still talking about it. So, you know what I mean? Like,
I think Vince Russo gets a bad rep, and he gets blamed for everything. But in his defense, what do you go back and watch today?
WCW,
Attitude Era and WCW, and then if it's not that, what do you go watch? The TNA stuff. So you go back and watch this man's work. But you sit here and bury him 20 years later. It is 20 years, I think.
Yeah, it's 20 years.
And everybody's still talking shit. And that's what gets me mad. And I'll say this, and I don't have a beef with Jim Cornette. I don't have a beef with Bruce Pritchard. I don't have a beef with Eric Bischoff or whoever else that is there who knocks him. But these guys are still bitching about 20 years ago. And when you see 50-year-old men still whining about this, makes me sick to my stomach. How about fucking let it go, shut the fuck up, and move on?
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I 100% agree with you on that. Like, it's like sitting there and watching guys complain and whinge, and like, it's 20 years ago. Let's go. Like, let's move past it. It wasn't as, like I said, I feel that Vince shouldn't be blamed for absolutely everything that went on during that time, because he wasn't the only one carrying that ball there.
No, you're right. And you know what, guys? It never dies down. When you want to blame somebody, you blame Vince. Give the guy a break. You know what? Nobody knows him like I know him. I'm friends with him 30 years. He's not a mean person. He's not a bad guy. He just, does he go overboard on some things? Of course, just like everybody else. But he does it in the limelight. But at the end of the day, he's a family man. He's a father. He's a grandfather. He's trying to support his family. When he was working for Vince, he didn't want to be that. He did not want to work 7 days, 25 hours a day, 9 days a week, because that's what you need to work for Vince McMahon. And there's no disrespect to Vince McMahon because he is a hardworking individual. He does his thing. He knows his craft. He knows what goes. And you know what? And he's a billionaire today because of his work ethic. And you can't knock that.
But that's the thing. Like I'm a guy with young kids, and for me, like I could not be in a job where I'm working 24/7, 7 days a week. Like I couldn't do it. I'm a hands-on father. I want to be around my kids, my wife, and stuff like that. And I can see definitely where he comes from and where his opinion is on that matter. I actually had the fortune. I was fortunate enough to actually interview Vince on this show a couple months back, and one of the things, like for me, I was like, this guy is one of the most nicest people I've ever spoken to. Like speaking to him backstage on the show and
Right.
everything like that, he just came across as an absolute gentleman. And like I'm definitely a big fan of him as a human being and as a personality.
He's been the same way since the day I met him. I mean, and you know what? Because of wrestling, guys, he suffers from depression. He suffers from the stuff. He bowed out from the spotlight. He goes for a lot of stuff, and when you talk about being, the guy and having to deal with it, it's a lot of responsibility. Some people can handle it, some people can't. You got to take it as it comes. And guys, sometimes, you got to back off and just let people be.
Yeah, 100%. Now, one of the things I wanted to bring up, and you can tell me if you don't want to discuss this, was your run in WWE. When you were with little Guido, aka Nunzio, you guys sort of almost come back to doing the FBI type gimmick / the Mama Luke type gimmick. It was kind of a cross between the two. Then you went through a gimmick change where as a cross dresser, where
Right.
yeah, and that was a time in wrestling where like you pretty much had to live that gimmick. You turn up to airports, you would, the Undertaker was this thing. You were turning up in dresses and stuff like that. As a guy, like you don't seem like the type of guy that for me I'd go up to and say, "Hey Vito, we want you to wear a dress and some high heels, man, and put it over." But you did it, man. You definitely seemed to do it. You looked like you had fun with doing it. But how was that presented to you, and how did you feel having to go through with that sort of gimmick?
Well, it was Stephanie and Vince. They had an idea for me, and they said, we have an idea. Would you like to do this gimmick? And being that you always look for opportunity, so you do it. And a lot of people think it was like the rib or was the whatever, but to me, I took it as an opportunity, so I did it. And you got to have confidence in yourself. You got to have a set. And you know what? If you're not confident in yourself, you're not going to be able to do it. But when I did it, the respect I got for doing it, and then I remember my first match, who knows how to wrestle in a dress? Nobody. I didn't know. So, but because of all the grooming I had and the wrestling and the knowledge that was given to me, I was able to do this and put it over. And everybody in the back thought it was great. And then as I started to do it, I got better and better at it. And then they were like, okay, what do we do with this now? It's the hottest gimmick we have. I mean, if everybody remembers, I was undefeated. I posed for Playgirl. I was supposed to have a match with Booker for the world title, and they took me out of it. And I had done the network. We were debuting the new network, and I was supposed to have the match with Booker. I went to the network that morning. I sat there at 6 a.m, went to the show. Vito, we're taking you out of the match. I said, why? I said, I went to the network wants The Undertaker, and and I know, so I called bullshit. But what was I going to say to the man? I said, I don't think this is right. I said, I work for this, and the people want to see it.
Heartbreaking, man.
It was because, I'm undefeated. Booker's on a roll as King Booker. That was a match people wanted to see. And if I would have beat him, that would have been the greatest feud. And the things that could have happened between us, how could this happen? I mean, there was a countless thing that could have went on, but for whatever reason, it didn't happen. No big deal. It's over with. But to say I enjoyed the dress. I had a good time with the dress. It was a wonderful time in my career. I loved it. I got no qualms about it.
Do you think that the original idea was a rib, or do you think that was a way that they were trying to? I don't know. Was that? Do you think there was an ulterior motive behind it, or do you think it was just, hey, this is a funny idea, let's see if you'll do it?
It was. I take a lot of people say it was a rib, and a lot of people. But you know what? They gave polka dots to Dusty Rhodes, and they made him the common man, and he got it over.
Absolutely.
Vito LaGrasso got the dress. They gave Vito LaGrasso a dress, and what happened? He got it over.
Mm.
And you know what makes them more mad than anything?
That you got it over.
I got it over.
Yeah. And the thing is, I love Nunzio's reaction when people come up saying, hey, man, look, your buddy Vito, I saw him at a club the other night. And he's like, he's not saying get the fuck out of here, but you see his like facial reaction and stuff, like he was so shocked. And then when it all came to fruition, you know, like I said, I've always been a big fan of yours since I saw you in WCW. So for me, when I saw that, I was like, oh man, they got so much with this guy and they're going to make him a comedy act. And, you know, I always watched because I was wanting to see what was happening. And for me, it was like, all right, this is actually not a joke. Like I said, you know, it's a comedy spot, but it's like you're into it, you're involved in it, you're buying into it. So as a fan, I'm going to allow myself to buy into it and see where this takes me. And that's the thing. Like there's many times where performers get given a gimmick or given an opportunity and you could see on their face that they're not into it. And then you can see on their face when they are into it. And when they're into it, it allows us fans to really buy into the moment, to really sort of allow that distraction and allowing that to sort of take us on the journey with you guys. And that's exactly what I thought you did.
My smile lit up the camera. And, you know, I smiled one time on camera by accident because I never smiled. I was always a heel, right?
Yeah.
So I went back to the gorilla position and I got Vince. I said, I'm sorry. He goes, Vito, what are you sorry about? I says, I smiled, and I know I shouldn't have. He says, Vito, you smiled. He says, and the place lit up. He says, keep doing it. He says, you lit up the whole crowd, and the crowd got into it, and it was awesome. Smiling, having a good time. So, you know what, guys? For everybody who would knock it, right, and everybody who got something to say about it, do you know how many wrestlers, independent, put on a dress when I would put on one, and after that? So it couldn't have been that bad.
Hey man, like I said, you know, you allowed people to buy into it, and that you did your job as a performer. You know, you put it over, and essentially you got fans invested in it, and that's the main point. And that was your job as a performer to get fans invested into it. You definitely did that.
Definitely, for sure.
So, guys, it is that time of the show that everyone gets excited about. I have warned Vito about this moment of the show, so he has been sitting there studying his Australian slang. So it is now time for Guess the Aussie Slang. So, Vito, have you ever been to Australia? You ever been down under?
Yes, I have. Greatest time of my life.
Absolutely, man. Us Australians, we know how to party. We know how to have a good time, my man. So, do you know much Australian slang?
I don't know much about it, but go ahead and shoot it my way.
Okay, no worries. So we're going to get started now. How it's going to work, I'm going to say a slang word and I'll use it in a sentence. You tell me what the word means.
Okay.
All right. You want a stubby? Stubby.
A stubby has got to be a beer.
It is. Yep. There you go. Straight off the bat. Hey, man, do you fancy a sanger? Sanger.
Sanger. That could be a soda.
No, a sanger is like a sandwich. So if I go, hey man, do you want to sang a sausage? A sausage sanger, a sausage sandwich.
I was on the right track. Soda, sandwich. Okay, we're good.
Hey Vito, before you come to my house, man, swing past the bottle-o and pick up a slab. So there's two there, bottle-o and slab.
So a bubble would be something to eat, and at the grocery store.
All right. So a bottle-o is like a liquor store, and a slab is a case of beer.
All right.
All right. Oh, mate, I'm going to introduce my dad, but be careful. He's a bit of a bogan.
Bogan. He's probably. Let's see, outlandish.
Yeah, so a bogan is like what you would call a redneck. So, yeah, how a bogan talks, and this is my bogan impersonation. Yeah, go on, mate. You're gonna go down to the pub, have a few fucking beers, maybe see a couple of Sheilas down there, and fucking might get a root out of it. That's
So
how.
basically, if we're going to talk Staten Island or New York, the guy's ghetto.
Yeah, yeah. Kind of, like I said, it's more of like a redneck sort of like.
I get you, man. I get you.
Hey, mate, do you want a bicky?
Hey, mate, you want a bicky?
Bicky. You want a bicky?
A bicky. Want a shot?
No, a bicky's like a biscuit, which is a cookie. So like a chocolate chip cookie or like a
chocolate cookie. All right.
Yep. Hey, mate, be careful. The booze bus is out.
Police are out.
Yeah, so a booze bus is basically when police have like set up like multiple cars on a street and they're pulling people over and breath testing them for drink driving. Okay. All right. Next one. This is old Cobber here. He's a friend of mine. Cobber.
It's got to be, I don't know.
A cobber is like a friend, like, g'day, Cobber, how you going?
All right.
Fancy a durry? Durry.
Sandwich.
Cigarette.
Cigarette.
I'll tell you what, my wife was cutting sick before. Cutting sick. My wife was cutting sick.
It was pretty hard or pretty strenuous.
Yeah, well, cutting sick. She was going off her head. So she was just screaming at me. All right, so this is another 2-for-1, okay? Oh, Vito. Check out this Sheila. I almost cracked a fat.
Let's see. Look at this
Sheila.
broad.
Yeah.
Broad as a Sheila. I almost cracked the fat, so that means I got hard.
Yeah. Yeah,
Right,
almost got a hard on. So we'll go a couple more. Oh, mate, that's a piece of piss.
That's a piece of piss. That's a piece of crap.
No, it means it's easy. Easy work. A piece of piss, mate. Yeah, too easy. All right, so I've got a couple more for you. Hey, Vito, do you want to come over to my house and drink some piss? What am I inviting you over to drink?
Beer.
Yep, beer, alcohol, that sort of stuff. All right, so we're going to go one more. Oh, mate. Dad's outside. He's wearing his fucking budgie smuggler again.
Budgie smuggler. It means he's wearing these fucked up clothes.
It means he's wearing a Speedo, and we call it a budgie smuggler because it looks like, well, someone's smuggling a budgie.
All right, so I got it.
That's it, Vito. We'll get you to hold on back while we end up the show. But guys, thank you so much for watching this show. Big Vito Lagrasso has been my guest. It has been one of my favorite interviews to do this far since I started doing it. Vito, thank you so much, man. I really appreciate it. And guys,
you're very welcome.
Thank you, man. Thank you. And guys, you have been watching Shooting the Shit Uncensored. I am Piers Austin. This is Big Vito, and we're going to catch you next time. In the meantime, make sure you click that. I can't even speak. Make sure you click that subscribe button. Show your support. Head over to our Pro Wrestling Tee store with the link going down below. Get a T-shirt. Get two, and show your support. Until next time, guys. Take care, and we hope to see you soon. Bye now.